Sean Dyche has been named manager of Everton. He's got a massive job, I think, on his hand on getting these out of trouble. The squad is not great. I'm currently recording this on transfer deadline day, and at the moment, they're trying to sign this dude from Sheffield United, and that's about it. I don't think the Conor Gallagher's one's going. Looking at the squad, and we'll have a look at the squad in a minute, it's not really an area that I think they need to strengthen in, so we'll have a look at two tactics. We're going to look at the Burnley tactic and some of the players and roles that he had in that, and we've also got the Everton version that I think he needs to press on with ahead of what's going to be a difficult last half of the season for the Toffees. All right, guys, so two tactics for you today. Tactic downloads are available to my Patreons. Link down in the description for that if you want to go check it out. If you're not a Patreon, don't worry. I am going to go through all the team instructions, player instructions, and play roles. I've simulated a season as well, which I not normally do, so I'll show you the results of that towards the end. And more importantly, I am considering doing a Let's Play with Everton. I want to be the saviour of Everton Football Club, and if that's something you would like to see, I have got a poll now going on my communities page, so make sure you go and vote yes if you would like to see that on the channel. All right, guys, let's dive in. Okay, everybody, so this is the Dyche ball Burnley. Now, predominantly, I'm going to give him a little bit of credit. We know what we're going to kind of expect. I do think the 4-4-2 does suit what Everton had with wide players and defenders mix, central midfield mix, and obviously two strikers as well with Maupay and Calvert-Lewin. Predominantly, it was sort of like a low mid-block. They did high press at times, periods during games. They had a notable press away at Arsenal a couple of years ago at the Emirates. And they also pressed at home against Manchester United last season in the season that they got relegated. However, generally, it did turn into a low or a mid-block. So for the Burnley version, we've obviously got sweeper keeper on defend. We've got a right back, two full backs on support. Normally Loughton, Charlie Taylor did get involved in the attacking third, but did it very cautiously. Generally didn't get that far forward on a regular basis, so we've gone full back on support. This role is the opposite way around. Tarkowski would normally be the right side. He's a bit of a ball player. He's got a tremendous passing range, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more when we do the Everton tactic. So that would be the opposite way around, but just because I'm playing with Cody and Tarkowski, Tarkowski's been on the left-hand side. So it would be the partnership of Tarkowski and me. Obviously, left-back Charlie Taylor, Eric Peters, very solid defenders. They offered a little bit. Charlie Taylor was a lot more better going forward, but so often in the big games, Eric Peters would go in there, very solid left fullback. The middle of midfield, now I think this is an advantage that he had with Burnley, and this is one of the problems I think he's got to fix at Everton. They had players such as Jeff Hendrick, Joey Barton, Defoe. Is it Defoe? Defoe? You know which dude it'd be. The Belgium guy from a few years ago. Joey Barton. They also have, at the moment they've got Jack Cork, Ashley Westwood, and Josh Brownhill. And I think a few of them, in particular Westwood, Brownhill, Hendricks, all of whom I think provide a little bit more quality in that Burnley side than what Everton currently have in there. So I've gone for in the middle at midfield. I've gone for just a deep line playmaker on defend and a box-to-box. That could quite easily be, I think it all depends on the games they were playing. If they were playing one of the bigger sides and looking at playing a little bit more of a low block, that would often go into like a central midfielder on defend. It would be a ball-winning midfielder. Okay, so that is, once again, Sean Dyche, a little bit more varied in his approach depending on the opponents we were playing. Left-hand side or right-hand side, they would normally play a winger. Aaron Lennon and Dwight McNeil would often play as one of the wide men. And then on the other side, they would have one a little bit, Hendrick played out there at certain points, and they've had Goodmanson on this right wing. So they've had a lot of little flexibilities and little changes. Dwight McNeil was in and out of the team. So just for the basis of sort of like having to create one tactic, we've gone with a wide midfielder on the right-hand side with an instruction of sit narrower, and we've also got Dwight McNeil on that left-hand side as an out-and-out winger. You could often even change that to, if Aaron Lennon played on that side, it would be a winger. You could even go with a defensive winger as well. Obviously, you won't have sit narrow on. You could have that. And then moving into the front two, we've got a pressing forward on attack and a target forward on attack. Now, I've gone for the attacking role for the target man, just so he stays a little bit higher. I don't want him doing a Weghorst and kind of dropping in and try and help with build-up. I want him to lead the line, and that's what you kind of got with Vokes and Ashley Barnes and Ashley Barnes a lot of the time. They always want something to hit, so they've always got an out ball. Pressing forward, you're looking at Jay Rodriguez, Vidra, Danny Ings, all players that worked really well, and I do think We'll talk about it a little bit more when we do the Everton version. Maupay and Calvert-Lewin might just work together. Now, player instruction on Maupay is mark specific position. I've gone for the DM role. Because they're playing a 4-4-4, because they're playing a 4-4-2, they often get outnumbered in the middle of midfield of playing against 4-3-3. So what I'm trying to create there is, Sean Dyche has talked about a simple pressing structure. One would go and press a defender, the other one would drop in, and then when the ball's transferred to the other centre-half, the player marking the DM would then move up to the centre-half who's currently got the ball, and then the other forward could go drop in. We can't get that in FM. We can't get that. So what I have done is I've just asked the pressing forward on attack just to drop in and just help the middle of midfield out in terms of that support. It would be nice if we could do things like that in FM, but obviously that's not possible. Okay, so that is the lineup. Cautious mentality, fairly narrow. Now, I would change this if you're going to go with this, and obviously you may want to use this as like an away from home tactic or for killing a game, looking to do a break. By the way, check out my Catenaccio video that I did earlier on in the week. Absolutely fantastic for counter-attacks. Probably the best one that I've ever put together. So after you've watched this, make sure you go check it out. So fairly narrow, staying nice and compact. What I'm trying to do is just make sure that we're not too open. You know, if the ball gets broken down, we know about the chaos as well in FM, turnovers. If we're too wide, we're going to get killed in transition. So staying quite narrow and compact, even in possession. Obviously, the winger out on that left-hand side is still going to get his width. And then depending on what you do on the right-hand side with that defensive winger, maybe even inverted winger, wide midfielder, it often changes, as I said, depending on the opponent. That will be up to you to change, maybe game to game or even in-game. We're not asking for play out of defence. Passing directness is on standard here, but obviously that needs to be up to more direct. And then higher tempo, the idea is that they break quickly, and you can only really do that if you've got a decent tempo. Time wasting, obviously, sometimes. Early crosses, getting balls into the box, especially. So I think sometimes they even went with Vokes and Ashley Barnes and certain points. So definitely crosses into the box. You've got that outlet with that Dwight McNeil or the winger on either side. Balls into the box, obviously key. Play for set pieces, yes. Be more disciplined. In transition, regroup, not really a counter press. And then obviously counter press because we're playing with that low block. Kicking, varied. If you do look at Nick Pope's stats from the 21-22 season, he kicked it long a high proportion of the time. So if you're going to do that and you're going to change it and you want it identical, I would maybe even go distribute to target forward. Not a bad shout. Obviously take long kicks. And then once again, goalkeeping. Sometimes he asked him to play quickly. Sometimes he was asked to slow down. It was all up to Nick Pope and his decision making. So I would maybe leave that blank so you get a nice little varied, you know, sometimes they rolled it off to Tarkowski. It's not as if they went to the distribute to the target forward every single time. All right, so I'll leave that for you guys to make an opinion, see how it looks in the match engine. And then out of possession, we've gone for a standard line of engagement with just a low block in terms of line engagement. As I said, they did drift in and out of a low block, and then they sometimes went mid-block, and then on occasions they go high press. So I'm just having this as a starting option, and then depending on how you're playing mid-game, Burnley would often change for their opponents. Standard trigger press. We're not asking, we're wanting to protect what he says. We're wanting to protect this V coming out of from the goalpost up until the edge of the areas, the corner points of the edge of the areas. They're wanting to protect that V. So by pressing too much, I think we'll get pulled apart. So we're trying to stay nice and compact. So just why I put it on standard. Don't want us going chasing things that we don't necessarily need to chase. Trap outside, talks a lot about it in some of his YouTube videos where obviously they're waiting for that possession to go over to the one side and then they squeeze and that's when they go and press. So obviously trap outside. And then crossing engagement, stop crosses. As I said, he gets bodies in and around that penalty area, but they double up. They get their wide midfielders to double up against the obviously skillful sort of like attacking players against the bigger sides. Can we stop balls coming into that box area there, that triangle, that we spoke about in the penalty area? Can we stop them crosses, balls getting in there? Okay, so that's why stop crosses is on. All right, that's the Burnley version. Now, if I'm being totally honest, I imagine that will not be amazing in the match engine, especially with a side that are a little bit poor. And I do find Everton in FM23 really, really poor. And I suppose Everton in real life, really, really poor. That's the problem. And that's probably the reason why they're down near the bottom of the division. Now, if we move it over to Dyche Ball Everton, there's a couple of little tweaks. By the way, I think the major problem, there's two problems. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Two problems. Number one, 4-4-2, good. It suits back four. They've got areas. They've got options in wide areas. They've got enough bodies in the midfield. However, they're a striker short. I do think they're a striker short. Depending on what, there may be not so much a little bit of pressure, because I don't think Sean Dyche will go with the pressure, but I do think that he'll at least have to maybe play a little bit more of a mid-block. And my worry would be having someone like Calvert-Lewin up there who is doing the hard yards like what an Ashley Barnes would do, and in particular what he's kind of signed Weghorst to do. Chris Wood as well. We forgot about Chris Wood. So my problem with that would be with the Calvert-Lewin staying fit. No chance of him staying fit from now until the end of the season. Hold me to that. I think you all agree. Impossible. So there needs to be a little bit of an option. Another option. Mope is not that. I do think he would act as a perfect little foil. I think he would work around Dominic Calvert-Lewin really, really well. However, can he stay fit? They have got Josh Sims, who will be a nice little backup to have on the bench, but I think they need to go out. Obviously, they're putting bids in for Conor Gallagher. Right now, I don't think another box-to-box midfielder is the thing that they need. And looking in the middle of midfield, as you said, they've had Ashley Westwood, quite a decent technical player, Josh Brownhill, Jack Cork, all players. Who was the other one? Joey Barton, for all of his wrongs, quite good at keeping the ball and moving the ball. Defoe? Is it Defoe? I can't. Stephen. This dude, I'll put a picture up. That dude. Okay? Very good. Technical player. And at the moment, the issue is Everton don't have that. At all. They've got Tom Davies, Doucouré. I don't know if he's injured or what. He's obviously, his contract's out at the end of the season. Anyway, I don't know where he's disappeared to. He might be well be injured at the moment. So they might likely to go with Gay and Onana. Now, Onana would do a fantastic job as a box-to-box midfielder. However, Gay in the middle of midfield, he's not looked great on his return. If you look at his attributes, 14 marking, 18 tackling, so very good, but only passing 12. He's not going to be that creative type, but they do need someone who can just shift the ball. There may be a chance of James Garner getting a little bit more game time. Passing 15 will be someone that I think Sean Dyche may look at using. Very good as well, breaking up play, tackling. He kind of fits that Brownhill, Westwood kind of midfielder that he had at Burnley a little bit, so that might just create something in there. But just for the argument's sake, we are going to play Gay as the deep line playmaker on defend. So that is my two worries there. That the signings of middle of midfield, he's not going to have that little bit of creative type in the central midfield. They don't have a lot of creativity anyway. I don't think he can get away with playing a Wobie out in the middle of a sort of like a 4-4-2. He's going to have to make friends with McNeil, because he's going to need to be an outlet to provide some opportunities for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So the only thing that I've kind of changed is we've gone for a balanced approach, just to be a little bit more, especially when you're playing at home, you want Everton to be at it. I'm kind of looking forward to how they play it against Arsenal. I think that first 20 minutes, I'd like to see them absolutely go hell for leather. Press high, really direct, and go for it in those first 20 minutes and really create an atmosphere in those home games. So, balance. We've also changed it just to a standard mid-block, so we've turned the line of engagement from a low block into a mid-block. Everything else is the same. This right-hand side, I personally would go with a Wobie. Maybe even, he is right-footed, but they're going to have to look at him to create a few things. You could even, to have a little bit of variation, my other option, if I go down the route of playing this as a Let's Play, I'm thinking of maybe doing a wide playmaker on this side and then getting a little bit more adventurous in terms of a wing-back going round and letting a Wobie come in here, helping out the central midfield a little bit and getting into these little pockets a little bit as well. And then one of the other changes, because they've got this little bit of a lack of quality in centre midfield in terms of technical ability, what I've done is I've put Connor Cody and Tarkowski both as ball-playing defenders. Connor Cody, for as much as maybe he's not rated, in the game as well, passing 15. Tarkowski as well, his passing is pretty good. 14. Ball-playing defenders. I think they're going to be required to play in, and we want quality. Obviously, talks about it as well when he had Kieran Trippier and Tarkowski and playing in defence at Burnley. He spoke about long passes, not long balls, long passes. And I think if you've got someone up there like Mope who's going to run in behind, and Calvert-Lewin, having someone like these two, Cody and Tarkowski, being able to switch balls out to McNeil, who might be holding the left flank a little bit, and finding balls over the top for Mope potentially, maybe even getting it into the chest, into the feet of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So that's what I've done there. Mikalenko, standard left back. I have put actually Ben Godfrey as a right back. I think he will like Ben Godfrey and use him a little bit. Nathan Patterson, I think he's maybe still injured, or is he fit? I can't remember, but he may just want to go for a little bit more defensive quality. At the same time as well, they have got Seamus Coleman, but my personal choice would be Ben Godfrey. And maybe that might allow Mikalenko, maybe on the left-hand side, to push forward a little bit. And as I said, midfield, I would go with Iwobi, Onana, Gay and McNeil. And then up front, as we said, Maupay and Calvert-Lewin. The press option is still there, mark-specific position. As I said, you're still playing with that 4-4-2. We're going to get overrun sometimes in midfield. So then what I would do is maybe just do that with that mark-specific position just so we can help out and make and mark that DM area. And then last little change, I have gone with just standard attacking width. I think, once again, I'm going to be quite, if I do play this a little bit more, I'm going to be a little bit pragmatic in terms of how we set up against certain teams, what role we have maybe here in the wide playmaker. Some games we might even press high. There will be some games I think Sean Dyche will want to press high. I think he will do that. He'll want his teams to be on the front. He'll want his teams to be on the front foot, especially at home. Can they create that atmosphere and get all them points, similar to what kind of Everton did with Frank Lampard towards the end of the season, putting some good home performances, which in the end kept them up last season. All right, guys, they are the two tactics. I said tactic links down in the description. Go check them out. I've simulated a season. I played the first few games. I played the first three. Man United 0-0, then we beat Forest, and then we beat Southampton. So we had a decent start to the season. We took the lead through Maupay from the spot, but what you will get is you'll get loads of goals like this where the fullback and the centre half just clip it, and there's Maupay running onto things. Lovely finish. He was on form for me at the start of the season, and I think the same as well from the right hand side. We did double up second half. We had an injury to Iwobi, so I did put Coleman as a defensive winger on that right hand side, and he does play a lovely ball in mid-block as well, but Calvert-Lewin, target forward on attack, he's just going to break the lines a little bit. He's obviously got the pace and stuff in the game. I don't really want to say dropping into these areas. Let him stretch the play, and that he does. He runs on. He's a really good player in Football Manager. Not so much in real life, but definitely in Football Manager. So that was a 3-0 win. We drew 0-0 against Manchester United. Obviously a little bit of luck. We parked the bus. We did play with a low block in that one. Rode our luck a little bit, but we came away with a valuable point. And then the winning goal against Southampton. It's good to see that fullback on support. Look at the decision he makes. He gets into a really good area, crossing early. And look at Calvert-Lewin, target forward on attack. I think if he wasn't on attack, he maybe wouldn't bust a gut to get in there. Great touch, great finish. All right, guys, that's it. Go check them out. Links in the description takes you over to Patreon. Hopefully you've enjoyed that. Let me know your thoughts about how Dyche may set up Everton. Always good to read your comments. I always reply to the comments as well, so get yourself down in the comments. Let me know what you think Dyche ball at Everton is going to look like. All right, guys, take care. Thanks for watching. See you later.